Hello and welcome to an episode of 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and I am overjoyed and excited to talk about my hometown, to talk about the Tennessee Volunteers, to talk about their record, who will be quarterback, how will their wins and losses be, with the man himself, Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, Mr. Landers?
Hey, what's going on, Jeremiah? Another great Monday talking some football with you. College football is right around the corner here in just a few weeks, and I'm ready to talk about the Vols. I know we have a very much a loving relationship with this team here on the program. We usually talk about them about once a month, so it's always time to get our Vols talk in, and I'm ready for it.
Absolutely. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for all the shares and sending things over to all your friends and family and talking about 100 Yards of Football and sharing it with all your friends and Vols fans. And I say, go Vols. I say it's hot like 98. I say we've got a rebuilding year. We've got a lot to go through. So with Josh Heupel, with the team, with these 4 or 5 quarterback possibilities, Mr. Logan Landers, tell us, what do the Vols have to look forward to? What do they have going on with the QB situation? And what kind of win-loss record are we expecting this year?
Well, if you ever looked up the definition of quarterback battle, this is what Tennessee is going through right now. You have pretty much, in my eyes, four guys who are all vying for that starting job. Let's just start from the bottom, who I think is going to be the low man on the totem pole, and that's Brian Maurer. The only reason I say that is because, as of just a few days ago, he's missed a few of the workouts. We don't know why, but he's not been there, so that's usually not a good sign. He might think of potentially trying to get out of Tennessee. You never know. So I think that he's definitely going to be last on the depth chart in terms of the quarterbacks coming to this year. Tennessee fans know he's had some starts. He's played a few games. But I don't think, especially with all the guys that they've added, I don't think it's his time right now. So he might think of trying to potentially maybe go somewhere else. You never know. But here's where it gets interesting, because you have 3 guys who are all pretty much in top contention for that starting spot. And there's really no wrong answer when you pick one of them. So you have Joe Milton, who's a transfer from Michigan. You have Hendon Hooker, who's a transfer from Virginia Tech. And you have Harrison Bailey, one of their top recruits from a few seasons ago, who started the last few games last season. So it gets very interesting on really who you want to pick. If you look around just any Tennessee Volunteer media, you'll see different answers for these guys for who they think is going to be a starting quarterback. I've seen people say it's going to be Hooker. I've seen people say Milton. I've seen people say Harrison Bailey. So it's a close race. It really is. Personally, I said here on the show, whenever we were doing our Vols team preview a few months ago, I want it to be Harrison Bailey. I want to see the younger guy out there and see if he can continue off of his, pretty much success his last few games in 2020, come on to 2021, and see if your star recruit can get things done. I want to see him because he was a star in high school. He's still a pretty solid quarterback. He hasn't really gotten the chance to shine for an entire season, and I think he really can. So, personally, I want Harrison Bailey to be the starting quarterback for the Vols. I know some people kind of want that as well, but let's look at the other option, like Joe Milton, who's coming over from Michigan. Now, people say he might have the best arm out of all of these 3 I'm talking about here, and I don't blame him. The guy has had a good career at Michigan. The only problem is he did have a hand injury, a thumb injury a little bit ago, so that might hamper him a little bit, but you just never know. So I think that he is going to be a solid backup, or he could even start. You just never know. So the key is Bailey has accuracy and poise whenever he was a true freshman, but he did struggle a little bit with downfield passing. But Milton thrives in that downfield passing game. So those are kind of their opposites. And then you have Hendon Hooker, who's more of a dual threat quarterback who can run around if you need him to be, and can also make the passes when you want him to. The guy came over from Virginia Tech. So you can really just kind of pick your poison here. You have Harrison Bailey, kind of the untapped potential of the young Vols quarterback. You have Joe Milton, the guy who's coming off of a hand injury, but he can throw the ball like the best of them. Or you can go with Hendon Hooker, who can run the ball if you need him to, and can get the good passes whenever his need be. So it's tough, man. But I want Harrison Bailey. I'm sticking to my guns. I think that if he does struggle, I think that Coach Heupel is going to yank him out because he's got two other guys like Milton and Hooker who are experienced, who are upperclassmen, who are going to get in there and do their best to, if they step in for Bailey and take that starting job from him. So we might see a carousel coming into this season still, even in the first few games. If Bailey struggles, then they'll replace him with Milton. If Milton struggles, they'll replace him with Hooker. And if Maurer is still there, they'll replace him with him. So I think we are going to see – we're definitely – I don't think we're going to see a QB1 starting every game this season. I don't believe that. So it's interesting to see. It's probably one of the better stories, the better storylines you can think of, and especially the SEC, for who's going to be a quarterback. And I want Harrison Bailey. I think that for the backup, I would want Hendon Hooker just because of that dual threat ability. And I would want Joe Milton as my 3, I would say. But, I mean, all 3 of those guys, and Maurer, of course, if he's still there, I think that they're going to be a solid choice for that Tennessee job. And I think they're going to have a better season. They started off good last year, and it all just kind of crumbled. But coming into 2021, I think they're going to have a very good season. I think that their schedule is pretty winnable for a majority of games. And I think that, let me get it pulled up here. So they're playing Bowling Green week 1. That should be an easy win. They're playing Pitt week 2. I think they should get that. Tennessee Tech, that's an easy one. Then they play Florida on September 25th. So that's going to be a tough one. So I think they might, hopefully you can keep it competitive. I think that's a loss there. Missouri, I think they could get that one. So that's already at 4. South Carolina, we'll see. That could always be kind of a toss-up. Ole Miss, like I said, another toss-up. I think Tennessee could get a win in that. Alabama, you can already just kind of chuck that one up, and maybe we'll get them next year. Yeah. Then they get a week off after that, thankfully. They come back in November. They play Kentucky, who showed some promise a little bit. Georgia in November, so that's another one, just maybe next year. South Alabama, that's an easy one. Vanderbilt, they should win that. And then that's the final game on their season. So I think that in this 2021 season, Jeremiah, I think you're going to like this. I think the Vols will have a good 7-5 record this season. I think that's how they're going to go. I think that they'll get into a bowl game. I don't think they're going to get in the SEC championship quite yet. But I am expecting big things under a new head coach, it could be a new quarterback, a new system. And I think the players, the new coaches, and the fans especially are going to be excited coming into the season. It's something new, and they don't have to worry about Jarrett Garantano anymore and what he would do. So I know a lot of Tennessee fans are happy about that. So overall, I think Tennessee's going to have a better season. It's definitely going to be a building year. Like you said, it's not going to be perfect. But I think that if you put Harrison Bailey, the young kid, out there, see if he can handle the pressure, I would stick with him. If not, you have great backups with Hendon Hooker, who is a mobile quarterback, and with Joe Milton, who is a solid arm. So you have really no wrong option here. And if one of them doesn't work, you can just replace them and pluck them out. So I think that Tennessee is going to have a great year with whoever's going to be the quarterback, because it could change. You never know. But overall, I think the Vols fans are going to have a very happy 2021.
I got to agree. And all the Vols fans that keep joining, what do you think? Make sure you put in your comments, what do you think? Do you think 7-5 is an accurate record? Do you think that there's some way that we might be able to beat Alabama or Georgia? Do you think that we're going to beat Ole Miss, Missouri? Do you think Kentucky is going to still have a stronger team coming out? They had an interesting season last year. And what do you think the Vols will do? Again, what do you think will be the quarterback? I would love to see Harrison Bailey step in. He is a young guy, but if you give him this year to do the rebuilding year, to get lots of time on the field, to learn the system, to get with Josh Heupel and his entire coaching team and really stretch his legs as a quarterback, then I think that you could have a true powerhouse quarterback by the time you get him into, your junior, senior year. And I would love to see that. I want to see him go strong. The other people who are in contention, there's no reason they can't get a great chance. And honestly, if they keep slinging balls and making connections and, learning the system and playing well with the team and being a leader, then they could emerge very easily. I would love to see that. I just really felt like Harrison came in, with this gunslinger arm coming out of high school. He got a couple chances to do some, a little bit of stuff last year, but not, all we saw was just a little, glimpse at potential greatness. So yeah, I would love to see what Harrison Bailey could do, especially supported by the entire team, entire coaching staff, and just putting all their weight behind it. But I've been in this situation before with the Vols where we've had a quarterback shootout, and it always actually, especially early in the season, it's a good time to figure that out. You try a couple different quarterbacks, you try a couple different systems, you see what really sticks. And, over the course of this particular year, I think it's the perfect year to just figure it out and let the Vols fall, where the chips will go. We'll get some upset victories. We'll get some victories that people don't expect. And, there may be some heartbreaking losses if we're not careful. So, and the Tennessee Vols know all about heartbreaking losses, and they know about amazing upsets. And I will tell you this, it's getting hotter around here, and it's not going to be too long with Josh Heupel that we're going to be back like hot like 98, in my opinion. So for everybody watching, tell us, do you agree? Do you agree with a 7-5 win-loss record for the Vols this season? And who do you think will be quarterback? We want to hear from you in the comments. And thank you so much for watching over on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And if you're listening to us on our podcast, thank you so much. But if you're not listening to the podcast yet, jump over and listen to it. We're over on Spotify, over at 100 Yards of Football. We're also on Apple Podcasts, the same 100 Yards of Football, or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Now, what's really cool is Mr. Landers does a lot of work every week to make sure that you guys have a new podcast coming out all the time. So you can go and listen to our new podcast in the morning when you're driving to work. You can listen at your office or if you work from home, and then you can listen to it on your drive back home. And we don't just do game previews or team previews. We also have interviews with legendary players. We have history videos where we cover the great games of the past, the great teams of the past, and great individuals of the past. And we cover everything from college through NFL and even back to the roots up back in high school and the systems in high school. So we really, really appreciate you guys watching. 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio is our heart. It's what we do every week. We bring you these live videos, and we're going to bring you another live video here in just a moment. So for the entire team, I am Jeremiah Long, the producer, and this has been our preview of the Tennessee Vols win-loss record and who we think will be the quarterback with the man himself, the man who brings you all the stats on the field. It's Mr. Logan Landers. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. We're going to be right back in just a second with another live video. Stay tuned.